This is the part that we get a little bamboozled when it comes to thinking everything is a quick fix, instant
Yep.
gratification, everything is a diet pill. Change
Yep.
is not. And
No.
so many of us hit the ground hard when we kind of fall off that high horse, when we're kind of like faking it and we're acting like we're different and we're trying to like peacock for everybody to show how much we've changed. And then we fall off the horse and roll down the hill. And it's like, oh, I thought I changed, but you didn't change on that deep internal level that you were supposed to change on. You just changed on the surface so that everybody could accept you and give you that external validation. What are you going to do in the moment that you feel like screaming somebody's head off? Are you going to take a breath? Are you going to count to 10? Are you going to walk away? Are you going to tap? Are you going to do a butterfly tap? What's the plan? Because if you do not think of what the alternative will be when this thing comes up, you are going to default back to what you already do. Don't think that you're not going to have any practice with this thing and then it's going to come up and you are just going to ace the test and you're just going to know exactly what to do. No, think about what you want to do instead. Think
Yes.
about what is the outcome so that you can decide
Hmm.
what you want to do instead, as opposed to
Yep.
just winging it and hoping for the best. That has not been
Yeah.
working for you. So let's do something different.
Welcome back to the Triggered AF podcast. This is the number one place to explore the triggers that shape our lives with raw honesty and unfiltered conversations. Get ready to laugh, cry, and discover something absolutely new about yourself because you have a choice. You can keep spiraling or deal with your triggers. It truly is your choice. But I have a sneaky suspicion that if you're here with us today, it just might mean that you are ready to deal with yours. So let's tap in.
Oh my goodness. I am here. Yes, I'm ready to tap on in and have this conversation. And, one of my favorite things about this podcast is that we don't just come on here to vent and whine and complain and tell you what to do. We come with the tools, honey. We are
All the
here
tools.
with things that you can apply. We are here with real life things that are applicable. Like it's one thing to listen to a podcast or listen to something and just hear all of somebody's business. And like I feel like that's what makes this podcast so special is we are really doing the research, finding the people, finding the answers that we're looking for, rather than just talk about our triggers. Like, what do we do about them?
Exactly.
So that's why I'm so excited to have this conversation, because what is harder than changing? It's the only constant in life, but it's one of the hardest things to do in life.
I think the only thing harder than change for me is abstinence. I think, those two are just, high up on the list
Oh
because
yeah. I mean, I can imagine.
yes, I think for the high drive girlies who also have standards, it is the hardest thing on the face of the planet, especially during the summertime when all God's delectable
And
children
it's
are
hot.
out with
It's hot. It's hot
woo,
all everywhere, all throughout, in every way.
woo. I think the summertime and the wintertime is the hardest.
Right.
Woo. So
Right.
I think that's the only thing harder than change because you asked. So I had to tell you.
Well, I can imagine, but that is a change, right? That is a change
Yes.
from the norm for a lot of people. And one of
Yeah.
the things that I've had to come to terms with when it comes to change is that because it is the only constant in life is change, I feel
Yeah.
like I've had to learn to just accept that, right? Like I've had to learn to just be like, you know what? The things that are going to be changing in my life, how do I
Mhm.
flow in the change? How do I make sure that when things are changing or when I need to change, I don't have so much resistance? Because I think that's what
Yeah.
makes it hard for us. Is change sometimes feels like a death,
Because it
like to your
is.
body,
It is a little
it
death.
feels, yeah, it's like a little baby death that's like, hey, like, can't do this anymore. We have to do this thing. And the only
Yeah.
thing for that new outcome to happen is for you to die to that other part, that other self, that other behavior. So I know for me, that's why changing can feel so awful sometimes is because it is forcing me to face parts of myself that I love sometimes, or I'm comfortable with, or make me
Mhm.
feel better, you know,
Yeah.
as a form of survival. However, it's really not serving my greater purpose or my higher self. So then it forces me to have to make a decision like, okay, do I want to stay this way? I have to
Yep.
choose my heart, right? Do I want to stay
Yep.
this way, or do I want to put in the work to actually change to get the outcome that I really, really want?
Yeah. And the piece that I think we kind of gloss over or glaze over is the grief that comes with change. Like there is
Ooh,
very, very real grief that comes with, hey, I don't do this anymore. Like I was
that's a
out at an
real
event.
thing.
Yeah, it's such a real thing. Like I was out at an event and I was seated at the table with all of these, I mean, phenomenal, just folks who are doing just some of the most amazing things ever, transforming generations to come, who have they're advocating at the border because they are lawyers. They are creating these millions and millions of person followings, and they are building and advocating for financial literacy and change in schools across the nation and even across the globe. And I'm sitting there, and I mean, it's champagne galore. And although I'm not a champagne girly, I love, taking my little sip and, doing the little things of what I was used to. But now that I no longer drink, I can't deny that there was a little bit of grief there for me, because it's like, I want to toast too. And I know that's
Yeah,
a
or it's
small
the
thing.
look and the feeling and being a part of, right? Because that is a
Yeah.
big part of having to change, is being
Yeah.
kind of set aside, being cast out sometimes, being
Yeah.
alone, being isolated. That's such a good point. That is a real thing that you have to deal with when you change. And it's probably one of the reasons so many of us don't change, is because you may end up with in a season of loneliness in that period of
Yes.
change.
Yes, because things are different for you now. Like I used to be oh, we only live once, YOLO, let's do all the things we want to do type of girly. And now in my dating experience, because I am no longer being that free YOLO, yeah, let's just have fun, we here now type of, live it up type of girl, it does mean that I sometimes have to dismiss people who would be really, really great potential partners because I'm not willing to move as fast as they would like to move now. And so
Yes.
again, there's that isolation piece, because it's like, that don't work for me no more. If you're not willing to meet these requirements ahead of time, then I'm good, love, and joy. You're a great person, but you may need to find somebody else or pick somebody else to do it, because I'm just not there. Because my goals are
Yeah.
different. And I think that's the piece that makes change for me easier to digest, is I have to hyper focus on what is my ultimate goal. What
Yeah.
is my ultimate goal? What do I ultimately want? And then it is constantly looking at, will these actions produce that? If yes, keep the party
Right.
going. If no, okay, that's that that A/B test, that yes and test, or excuse me, if and test. If no, then okay, I have to do something different, because doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the literal definition of insanity. It does not work that way. And I know people feel sometimes like, oh, well, you have to be persistent. What about the whole stay persistent and then you'll, you'll get what you want out of it. And it's like, yes, and right, if I persistently get the answer wrong, I'm always going to have the answer wrong, no matter how persistent I am with it. But if
Yeah.
I take a note of, hey, let's try some different actions. This is an experiment. Our life is literally an experiment. You are hypothesizing a specific outcome, and then you are trying some shit to figure out, okay, what actually produces it. And then once you figure it out, okay, you can take that and then keep applying that to other parts of your life to see, hey, does this work here? Does this work here? Maybe I can get a little something right here. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I think you get over the grief of change, by getting excited about the potential alternatives and possibilities that you can have. I think that's how you
Well,
do it
before you even get to all of that, you have to start
somewhere.
like Well, yeah. Well, what I want to say is whenever there's something that you need to change, a lot of times you get feedback from outside sources, right? Like other people be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is happening, that's happening. You're this way, you're that way." Or sometimes it is an epiphany that we tend to have. But the very, very first step I feel like when it comes to change is acknowledging that something
Yeah.
needs to change.
Mhm.
Because one of the worst things most people have to deal with when it comes to relationship is when somebody obviously needs to make a shift or a change, and they are
Mhm.
just in complete denial, or they're just so
Mhm.
unaware of who they are and the impact they're having on other people that
Mhm.
they don't even know that something needs to change. It is
Mhm.
so frustrating. I know we've all dealt with someone like that where it's just like, you don't see that something is wrong with you, like you are fucked up, like that doesn't register somewhere in your brain. And there are really people like that, especially if you are like an agent of change and you are like all about it and you are like wanting to
Yeah.
fix yourself and you want to be better and you want to grow and you want to evolve, and then you bump into people that are just so oblivious to what's wrong with them, and I know it's like, oh, nothing's wrong with me. No, there's some shit wrong with you. And we need to be able to acknowledge that. And then once you
Yeah.
acknowledge that, you then have to face yourself in the mirror and accept that this is something that needs to be shifted. And then you can start tapping into that awareness to see, okay, what do I need to do moving forward for this to
Mhm.
be something that I can really, really move the needle on?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that actually brings us to, so again, y'all know this is not a podcast where we just talk about our triggers and we just sit in the fact that, oh, this doesn't work for me, or oh, I've been this way my whole life. And because my mommy didn't do this, or because my daddy didn't do this, this is how I am. All that sound cool. However, you can either decide that you will let your triggers, and we literally said in the beginning of every episode now, you can keep spiraling or you will deal with your triggers. And so Danny and I, when we were coming up with what we were discussing in this episode, we were like, okay, how can we make this so that folks can easily tap into what they need in order to create the types of changes in their life that they want? We can't just keep talking about things. What does it look like to provide a toolkit, right? For
Right.
folks to change. So we came up with, it's called the 7 A's, and you can actually purchase it. It's in pre-order right now, called the Trigger Changes Pack. And we're going to talk a little bit, we'll go over the 7 A's in this particular episode. But we'll dive deeper in the actual pack. And like I said, it is on pre-order. But it's called the Trigger Changes Pack. I really, really think for folks who are looking to actualize their change, who are looking to, hey, I know I got some shit with me. I need to change some shit. This is not working. What I'm doing is not working. Again, you either keep spiraling or deal with your triggers. And so the 7 A's are: one, acceptance. You will have to accept that, something is not right here, and I'm going to need to do some shit to adjust this. Then there's acknowledgement, there's awareness, there is assessment, there is alternatives, there's action, and then there is advancement. We're going to tap into a little bit of each one in this episode, but if you want to go deeper, if you want to for real, because you only live one time, there are no do-overs. This is not a dress rehearsal. We are live. We stay live. There's no, oh, okay, let me pause real quick to go backstage. Ain't none of that.
And even if you
Right.
do get a do-over, you're not going to remember, right? Like we don't
Yeah.
know how real reincarnation is or whatever it is you believe in. But if you believe in that stuff, you ain't going to remember a lot of it, okay? A little deja vu here and there is not going to help you solve your life problems.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? We have this idea, and I think I believe a lot of it is to pacify us and to help us just feel better about our experience, where we just feel like, oh, maybe I'll come back as a tree. Maybe I'll come back as a cat. Ma'am, ma'am, sir, person, right? You don't know for sure, so you have
Yeah.
to maximize this life. You have to
Yeah.
squeeze all the juices out of it dry,
Squeeze it.
so that when your time comes you have no regrets. And if
No.
you are not a person who knows exactly what steps to take to change, you are going to need a game plan. You need a strategy. And there's
Yes.
so many of us. How many times have you spoken to somebody and they're talking about a flaw that they have and they say, "Oh, I'm working on it." And then you ask them what the work looks like and they think journaling and meditation is what it takes to change. Like, yes, those may be components for some people, but there's
Yeah.
so much more that needs to happen. And if you don't have a plan, you can plan to fail every single time. And we just want to make sure that we are giving you something. This is really a gift, because
Yeah.
what is going to impact your life more than knowing how to change effectively and shortening that gap between thinking about it and doing it?
Yes, that is literally what it is. This is a bridge. To shorten a gap is to create a bridge. The
Yeah.
Trigger Changes Pack helps you to create that bridge. And so we are not going to keep talking about it. We're going to tap in to what these 7 A's are. The first one is acceptance, and Danny already discussed a little bit of what that acceptance looks like. It can be something as simple as, I get a lot of feedback that says I'm mean, not me personally, but I get a lot of feedback that says I'm mean. Let's explore that. Acceptance first starts with getting curious about the feedback you're receiving. Get curious. I'm not saying you have to accept every bit of feedback, because that's foolish. However, get curious about the feedback that you're getting. If every job you go on, the people say you're nasty or you're difficult to work with, it might just be you, madam, sir, person. It could possibly be you. If every guy you date, it is an issue or it is a problem, let's go in and see, what is it that I'm doing that is continually causing me to get the reactions that do not align with who I believe I am. Because perception is everything. You can believe you are the bee's knees, but everyone who experiences you has a different type of understanding, of experience, right? First thing is
Yeah, it can't
acceptance.
just be everybody else. It can't be
No,
everybody. You know,
it
like
just
if you are the common denominator, it may be time to stop and pause and think. And acknowledgement and acceptance kind of go hand in hand. The
mm-hmm,
acknowledgement piece is just that moment of just like realization, right? It's like
mm-hmm.
it's gonna go hand in hand, and acceptance. They might happen at the same time. They may happen in reverse order. You may acknowledge before you can accept. You may just start to accept it before you really, really like just acknowledge and be like, okay, I need to do a deeper dive. I know that for a lot of us, it is very uncomfortable to sit in our flaws, to sit in the darkness, to sit in the ugly. And especially in this era where everything needs to look good and everything needs, it's this highlight reel. And sometimes we want that highlight reel in our real life, even though we know that's not really a thing. Your life is not a highlight reel. Your real life is not a highlight reel. It's not going to fit into a 90-second reel on Instagram. There are real things that you have to do if you are genuinely wanting to elevate your life and genuinely wanting to evolve to this higher self. If you can't acknowledge and accept those things, it's just not going to happen. I mean, even if you're not oblivious, because I mean, there are things that are wrong with me that I'm just okay with. Like, I'm just going to keep them because I don't feel like they hold me back from what I'm actually trying to accomplish. Right. So it's just like these going to stay, these flaws kind of serve me a little bit. They're not super taking away from the things that I want to do. So we may just be able to shift our energy into things about us that really hold us back. Right. And it doesn't always have to be something like, oh, I'm mean. It could be something like I'm super insecure. I'm super fear riddled. I battle a lot of self doubt. I'm a non starter. I tend to push people away. I have walls up. Like there are so many things that could be impacting your everyday life. But if you don't acknowledge and accept that these are things that are impacting your life and the outcome that you want, you're never going to get anywhere. So let's just start there. Acknowledge and accept that this is a reality for you, and then you can start to decide what's next. How far do you want to go? Do you want to fix it 100%? Do you want to fix it a little bit? Do you want to try to transform it? Like there's not just one path for everyone to change. So that's why we know that this toolkit is so special, because it's something that you can customize. It's something that you can decide for yourself every step of the way how you want that experience to be.
Yes, Yes, yes. That piece right there, that being able to customize and decide, because every single process or every single outcome, right? It doesn't align for everybody. For some folks, it's no, I need to have a little bit of this thing because it does help to ensure that I don't lose my voice. It helps to
Yeah.
ensure that I still go after what I need to go after. So it's not that I have to get rid of this whole part and piece of myself. It's just I need to tap into how I better utilize it, right?
What are
Like
one
a
of those
tool.
things for you? Let's give an example. Like, what's one for you that you know that it's not your best characteristic, but you hold on to it because it does serve you sometimes?
My aggressiveness. Like I am a
Mm.
go-getter like a motherfucker, right? Like you tell me, hey, these are the goals, this is what we want to achieve, this is what it looks like. That and people think aggression is a bad thing, but that aggressiveness, that know how, it's like an inner knowing. It's a okay, not a problem. We need to get to point C and we're on point, -2. Not an issue. I got us. I can literally, okay, let's create the steps. Let's do this. Let's do that. All
But
right,
then
bet
how
we need
does
to
the
do this.
aggressiveness impede you sometimes?
Oh man, especially in dating, right? Because I am always operating 2, 3 steps ahead. That can be scary because I'm heterosexual like 90% of the time. So when you're dating heterosexual men, it can be scary or off-putting a woman who is so aggressive. Like you
Mm,
him and that haw, and we don't got to do all that. What is the decision and the choice that we've made? Okay, hey, these are the steps to get there. This is what it looks like. Men aren't business deals, right? Like they're just not. They're not
right.
business deals. They are humans.
And then
There are
aggressiveness, I'm
different.
sure, comes off a little more masculine. Like it gives
It
masculine
does.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes off
Yeah.
masculine, and they feel like, okay, she got it. I don't have to do this. And it's like, no, no, I'm aggressive in business. In relationships, calm down. I want to be a lady. Okay. That's that
Talk
heterosexuality
like
90%
me.
of the time. Exactly.
For
Thought
me,
like
it's
me. I don't want to do it all.
my bluntness. For me, it's my
Yours is bluntness.
bluntness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
know me, I'm pretty blunt and
Yes.
straightforward.
But
And I'm
I
gonna say
love
the
that.
thing.
I love that. But I do understand that that can be very off putting for most
It can
other
be
people in your life.
off-putting to people because it can come off as like maybe mean or bitchy sometimes as far as how
Yeah. Or like,
it
know
can
it all.
impede. Yeah, and it's like it's not that, it's just I don't understand why people can't say the things that they want to say if you can
Yeah.
find the best way to say it.
Yeah.
But I've had to learn to have some more tact.
Yeah.
And I've had to definitely learn timing and tone and things like that to
Mhm.
kind of like tweak it to make it work for me more
Yep.
often than it doesn't work for me. It sometimes still
Yeah.
doesn't work for me because sometimes it's just like, oh, why'd you just say that? But
Like that.
for the most part, I've learned to be a little bit more politically correct, and I've learned to find words and like knowing my audience is a big, like things like that. This is a different
Yeah.
conversation, but for me, it's just like being very straightforward and just feeling like I should just be able to tell you like it is. That doesn't
Yeah.
go over well all the time.
No, no, it does not. But that awareness, though, is where you are able to go into our next A, which is the assessment, right? When
Yeah,
you can get to the point to where you tell yourself the truth in all areas, that is a
all the time.
powerful all the time. I tell myself the truth all of the time. I
Yeah, me too.
understand that my aggression can be scary. So I am teaching myself like constantly how to, hey, this would be a perfect step in business. This one, making this move right here, right now, might not be the best way to do that. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
and I think with assessment, it's even like a test where you have to, but like we always think about taking a test, but people don't think about what it takes to formulate a test. You have to figure
ooh,
out what are the questions, what are the things that need to be asked for the person to be able to answer and get the results that they're looking for so that you can see
mhm,
where you stand. it's
Yes.
important to figure out what are the things that are impacting this area of your life, or what's the root that's causing this
Hmm.
outcome, right?
Yeah.
I know my bluntness comes from my parents. Both of my parents are very forward and very blunt. I'm also Jamaican. If you know Jamaicans, just culturally, it's a very just
Yeah.
like, the other day I was watching something, and it's based in South Africa. And this girl went to go see her family, and they told her how much weight she put on. And I was like, oh my gosh, like a lot of African cultures are similar to Jamaican culture, because that's
Hmm.
so normal for us to just, if you see someone
Yeah.
like, oh my God, look how fat you are now. Oh my God, why are you so skinny? Like first quarter, right? In American culture, that is body shaming. That's mean. That's hurtful. But
Yeah.
for those of us who grow up in those cultures, it is very normal to comment on people's physical appearance as soon as you see them. Okay. And I've had to learn, through being in America all these years now and having friends, that you do have to be more mindful. So finding out, okay, I'm like this because of this. I'm like this because of that.
Yeah.
Not as an excuse, but as a reason, right?
Yeah.
And after,
Awareness.
yeah, it's awareness. And for me, awareness is ongoing. You are
Absolutely.
aware and you're self aware, so that in the moments that you're tempted to revert back to that behavior, you can
Hmm.
catch it and say, okay, this is me doing it now, right? Like this is the
Hmm.
thing that people say I'm doing, or this is that thing that keeps the guys keep going away because of this thing. I keep losing friends, I keep losing
Yeah.
jobs. This my money keeps leaving my hands somehow. Like these are the
Yes.
moments. That's the assessment. The assessment and the
That's
awareness,
yes.
I feel, go hand in hand, because this
Yes.
is when you're constantly taking inventory of what is causing the outcome. What
Yes.
is it that's going on, right? We're not there
Hmm.
yet where you're trying to get the solution. You're still in that development stage. You're in that
Yes.
stage where you're gathering information. You're
Yes.
trying to
Where you're
find out,
curious.
okay, right, you're getting all the information. This is research data collection phase, right?
Yeah.
Where you're not needing to make the shift now. You're just observing. You're being
Hmm.
aware. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, this goes in this bucket, this goes in that bucket. So
Hmm.
that way, when it is time to start actually making the changes, you know what you're working with.
Absolutely. That assessment is crucial. And in the triggered changes pack, we have a workbook that you're using to write all of this out, because your assessments, just keeping them in your head, everyone is busy. We don't have time to just keep things in our head. So with the workbook, you're able to outline taking an assessment, taking inventory of, hey, where in my life, what are the areas that I am not getting the results that I want? Is it, your work life? Is it your love life? Is it your relationship with your children? Is it your relationship with your friends? Like, okay, you can't keep friends. It can't always be them. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Like figuring out, what is it? Is it the food you eat, or is it that you do keep gaining weight and you can't figure out why? Is it that you need another doctor? Is it that you need a nutritionist or a dietitian to help you overcome some things? Take assessment. Again, like Danny said, this is not where you're creating the changes yet. This is just where you are hella curious about what is my life's experience. Because the one thing that we all have to do is die. And I say it often. So why not make your life just the greatest story, the best experience, the most fun and inviting and loving place for you to be in? Because you have that power to do so. But if you keep relinquishing your power, feeling as though you don't have any, you will get to the end of your life and you will look back over and be like, what happened? What
Mm-hmm.
happened?
Yep.
I did not achieve what I knew I could achieve, or I did not experience the love or the joy that I knew and could see that was available for me. And it did not happen because you were unwilling to change. And unwillingness to change is an unwillingness to experience your life at its optimal level. And we don't want that for you.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want
Yeah.
that for you.
And not just believing you can change, but knowing that you can change. You don't have to
Yeah.
be nothing. That's something I say all the time. Like, I don't have to do nothing but stay black and die. Okay. You don't have to be anything. You can decide. It's all about your decisions. And
Mhm.
beyond believing you can change is just that internal knowing that it
Yeah.
is possible, that it is feasible, that it is likely for you to change. It is just going to take some effort. And then that's where we
Yeah.
go into the alternatives. Now here's where we start making a plan and strategizing. I
It's
remember
strategy.
one time I was um I was watching an influencer. She was breaking down all the things it takes for her to make a piece of content. And a lot of times, we're just scrolling on Instagram and we see all this great content and we don't think about what goes into actually making the content. Even just
Yeah.
starting this podcast, you listen to podcasts and now knowing all of the things that go
There's
into
so much.
having a podcast, y'all, it is, oh, if it's a hobby, it's a very trying one, okay? Because there's a lot that goes into it. And
Yeah.
this is the part that we get a little bamboozled when it comes to thinking everything is a quick fix, instant
Yep.
gratification, everything is a diet pill. Change
Yep.
is not. And
No.
so many of us hit the ground hard when we kind of fall off that high horse, when we're kind of like faking it and we're acting like we're different and we're trying to like peacock for everybody to show how much we've changed. And then we fall off the horse and roll down the hill. And it's like, oh, I thought I changed, but you didn't change on that deep internal level that you were supposed to change on. You just changed on the surface so that everybody could accept you and give you that external validation. So you need to have a plan for alternatives. What will you do in the face of this thing popping up? What's the plan? What's the strategy? And the alternatives and the actions go hand in hand. Those are two steps where you think of the alternatives and then you put them into action. What are you going to do in the moment that you feel like screaming somebody's head off? Are you going to take a breath? Are you going to count to 10? Are you going to walk away? Are you going to tap? Are you going to do a butterfly tap? What's the plan? Because if you do not think of what the alternative will be when this thing comes up, you are going to default back to what you already do. It's just nature. It's how we're wired. It is how we survive. So don't think that you're not going to have any practice with this thing and then it's going to come up and you are just going to ace the test. And you're just going to know exactly what to do. No, think about what you want to do instead. Think
Yes.
about what is the outcome so that you can decide
Hmm.
what you want to do instead, as opposed to
Yep.
just winging it and hoping for the best. That has not been
Yeah.
working for me. So let's do something different.
Exactly. Let's do something different. And coming up with what that different is I like to say it's creating another default, right? And so back in my younger years when I used to fight a lot, my default was you make me mad, you put your hands on me, I find something to hurt you with. That was my default. I understand that it was wrong. I get that. And also, my default was to, all right, 0 to 100 real quick. Let's go. Now we got to fight. However, now my default is you make me mad, you frustrate me. Instead of immediately acting on that, I literally, and I use the phrase that Danny tells her daughter all the time, breathe so you can think. I will literally slow down and take quite a few deep breaths so that I can decide what is the best alternative. How do I want to respond? What outcome do I want? And then I go from there. Sometimes the outcome that I want is to spaz out because I need to get it out of me, right? Not necessarily to spaz out on them, but to spaz out in my arena, right? So it's to,
Or just getting it out in a healthier way. Like instead of
yeah,
spazzing out, just finding a better way to still get your point across without the
yeah,
theatrics or without the yelling or the physical
mhm,
violence. Like, how can you still get it out? Because sometimes
yeah,
we go like the opposite way where we like suppress and shrink ourselves if we are
narrow down.
explosive people. And then
Mhm.
that can cause a lot of conflict, as well on the inside.
Yeah,
So I do think sometimes it is okay to spaz, but how can you do it in a way that doesn't feel so bad after, that doesn't hurt somebody else, that
yeah,
doesn't hurt yourself? Because
yeah,
we all go the opposite way first, and I've learned that that opposite
yes,
way doesn't work for me. It just makes me passive aggressive, and then by the
yeah,
time I do expose, I can't control it. So
yeah. So like my spazzing now, it's not usually on other people. My spazzing now is to just like if let's say I'm in a bed, then I will literally like kind of kick and make noises like "Urgh," because I have to get it out. I have no
yeah.
desire to take that frustration, that irritation, and fold it into myself. Like, oh, well, I just have to accept this. Nah, that's not what we're doing. Or if I know, like, okay, I'm outside, I will literally run around in a circle because I have to get that energy out of me because I am
Get it out.
frustrated and what I want to do will not yield the type of results that I want. Or like if I'm angry with my daughter because she's done something that doesn't align with what I know I have raised her in, I'd be like, ayo, 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 I am about to respond in a way that is going to hurt your feelings. I need you to remove yourself from my line of sight so that I don't say things to you that not only I may not mean later, even though I will mean it in this moment. I need you to step away from me. Give me a moment so I can process my frustrations, feelings, and emotions, and then I will come back to you. But I need a moment.
Yeah,
Giving
it's and
myself that time.
communicating that. Yeah,
Mhm.
communicating to people and communicating how you work a lot of times can help that person also know how to respond and maneuver so that the best outcome can be there. Like work with the people in your life. You'd be very
Mhm.
surprised how willing they are to work once they understand what it is they're dealing with. A lot
Mhm.
of I would go on a limb to say that most people are not trying to be in conflict with people that they love. They end up
Yeah.
there a lot of times because they don't really understand how to go about conflict resolution. So they end
Mhm.
up in these spaces and this um, animosity between people, or just awkwardness. And sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that way. We're not taught conflict resolution in schools and oftentimes in our
Mhm.
families. So it's easy to just end up there. So, what would happen if we could just all communicate how we're working through things, how we're processing things, so that
Mhm.
our partners, our friends, our family members can then aid us in that experience and um in the conflict, so that we can all yield a better outcome, so that we can just keep moving, because again, life is going to end. And how much of this time that you have, this limited time, how much of that time do you want to spend angry, hurt, frustrated, irritated, sad, in
Yeah.
despair? Like,
Yeah.
for me, I just feel like life is just so fleeting to be in
Yeah.
this constant state of unhappiness. Like, I don't get it. I don't, y'all know I always say my healing is about me. Like, I don't like to feel it
Yeah.
inside. Like, however, whatever happens to you because of it, but for me, it's about how I feel internally. You may
Yeah.
benefit from it, but I don't like to sit with it. And I'm like, Alicia, I have to get it out. The other day, my
Yeah.
daughter was throwing a tantrum, and her tantrums are very intense and triggering to me. And one of the things that I've taught her is grounding, where when she's angry, um, we need to go outside and go put our feet in the grass and give it to Mother Earth.
Mhm.
So she was going through her tantrum, and she said, I need to go outside. She's 3 years old. She goes, I need to go outside. And she's in the middle of her tantrum. But I mean, I don't know if any of you know this, if you've dealt with toddlers, but it is very difficult for them to even attempt to regulate their nervous system when they're throwing a
Yeah.
tantrum. So for her to acknowledge, like, just to think of like a solution in the moment on her own was amazing. She goes,
Yeah.
I need to go outside. I want to go outside. And I was like, you know what? I need to go outside too, because I am also like throwing a tantrum internally. We go outside, and she's still crying. She's still crying. I take her hand, we walk into the grass, and I'm like, you need to take this out of your body. Because my thing is, I don't want her harboring anger and frustration inside of her body. It makes us sick. I said,
Mhm.
release this frustration into Mother Earth. She knows what to do with it. Trust that
Mhm.
you will be able to feel better after this. And I like walk her through this whole process, because I want that to be her default, right? Like,
Yeah.
I had to learn that way later. Like, if I can help you now, sis, to just move through this stuff fast, and
Yeah.
toddlers kind of naturally do it, but
Yeah.
we don't know how much of these things they're internalizing, even though they seem okay. So for me,
Yeah.
it's important that she learns how to release things out of her body. So I'm
Yeah.
saying that to say, because you a lot of us aren't given those kind of defaults, we do
Mhm.
have to start to find them and find the alternative behavior, so that we know we can fall back on that. Do not wing
Yeah.
it. Do not think you're just going to do that. It's going to take practice, and it's going to take intentionality to yield the different result. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm like Alicia, I'm a little bit spazzy too. I want to yell, I want to scream, I want to hurt your feelings. If I'm very angry, I can get a little condescending, things like that. So for me, I have learned to, like, for me, breathing, and this breathe so you can think thing is science. You literally get
Mhm.
oxygen to your brain so you can think. That's really what breathe so you can think is about. So when you
Yeah.
are able to breathe and take a real deep breath and take a few if you need to, like Alicia says, then your
A
brain
few.
can start to think, okay, what can I do differently now? Because I feel like I'm about to do the thing that gives me that result that I don't like.
Mhm.
What is the other thing? And if you already talked to you already wrote down, hey, you know what? Every single time this happens, maybe I just need to walk away, because if I look at you, I just get more mad. That's me.
Mm.
So I need to remove myself. But like you said, you want your daughter to remove herself, right? Some people need the person to walk away. Some people need to walk away. Coming up,
Yes.
just, I promise y'all, if you really want to change and you want to move the needle forward and you want to see the results of that change, go in with a plan that you can
Mhm.
implement every single time so that your actions align with what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes. And that is the next A, actions, right? So you just coming up with your new default means very, very little if you do not actually implement it, put it into action, press play. You are on the floor,
Mhm.
okay? You actually have to move, act. That is a verb, it is not a noun. It is a verb, which means you will have to do something. If
Yes.
what you have done previously is not working and you have created an alternative of what you want your new default to be, the next thing that you will have to do is actually choose that new default. You will have to
Every
choose it
time,
because
as
you will
often as
always be
possible.
as
Yeah.
often as possible because you will always be presented with a choice. I can either respond the way I have always responded and continue to get the results that I do not like, or I can make a decision, an intentional decision that I am going to do something different. And based on what I have decided is going to be my new alternative, I am going to act every single time. When I was sitting at that table and everyone was pouring the champagne, and it was Bel Air. I don't even like champagne, but I do like a little Bel Air. They were pouring the champagne, and there was a part of me, I wasn't tempted, but I just wanted to be a part of it, right? I had to choose my new alternative. And what that was okay, let me find out what tasty beverage they have so that I'm not so tempted because I like the flavor and taste of this, that I have something different. So my action, right, was to ask, hey, I see that there's also going to be coconut water. Can I have that instead? It has a little flavor. I love a little coconut water. They had a coconut water with pineapple, so I chose that flavor. And that was the action that I took to ensure that I was choosing the new alternative for a decision that I have made based on the change that I want to make in my life. That is a real life, real world example. And considering that there is an epidemic of alcoholics in America, um, that is something that all people, hey, what is your alternative, right? And no, although I am not an alcoholic, alcohol in my family, because of certain medical things, is can cause more issues. So I have made a conscious choice that, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm going to come up with alternatives that I will constantly choose, right? The actions that I will constantly take, because that is what will work best for me with my family's medical history, right? You
Yeah.
have to make a different choice. Your actions are evident of the choices and the decisions that you have made. Because if you consistently get in the habit of making the different choice, taking the different action, that is where you will find the advancement, which is the seventh A. That
Yeah, and if you know
advancement,
anything about change and trying to
whew,
change, you know that you are going to get tested, and it's gonna come up a
mhm,
lot, and it's
a
gonna
lot.
come in different outfits, and it's gonna
Mhm.
come in different packages, and you have to try to recognize it. And oh, it's like an onion. There are layers. There are layers
Layers.
of this thing that you want to change. You're gonna think you changed the
Yeah.
first layer, and the second layer comes up, and you're like, oh, it's still there. I still gotta. And then another layer is gonna come up, and then
Yeah.
it's just like it is ongoing, and that's what we mean by the advancement. You are going to have to advance to different levels and different devils
Yes.
that represent this change. It's not
Mhm.
it's not going to be a one-time overhaul where you just fix it today and you're ready to go for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It is a full-time position that you
Yes.
are now hired to, that you hired yourself
Congrats.
to, and it's going to take commitment, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not going to be something that you just make that decision one day and now every single time it's going to be easy for you. Does it get easier?
Mhm.
Sometimes. It's going to always feel like effort though, because that default feels good, it feels natural, it feels safe to your body. It's going to take a lot of time. So my main thing here, especially when I'm working with people to try to change habits, do not expect a quick fix and do not think that every single time it's just going to come to you like that. The
Right.
advancement means constantly putting in the work and putting in the
Mhm.
intentionality and making sure that you understand that, hey, if I mess up, if I don't react the best way, it doesn't mean I have to throw in the towel and just go back all the
Mm.
way down. Roll down the hill. Fall off the horse, get back on the horse and keep going. Don't roll down the
Yes.
hill and wallow and be hard on
Mhm.
yourself and regress so far back that now you feel like you're starting all over. Be okay with, you scrape your knee, you get up and you keep going and understanding that there's always going to be more to do, as opposed to feeling like, oh my God, I did all this and now there's still more. Your
Yeah.
mentality and how you look at the change is going to impact the distance that you can go.
Yes. Yes. And also too understanding that there will be times where sometimes you do roll down the hill.
Right.
Sometimes you do. You get all the way to the bottom of the hill and you like, God damn it, I did. Mm. And even then, get your ass back up. And sorry,
Yeah.
y'all, I'm a little rough.
It's
That's
going to
why Danny
suck,
and I
but
work so well together because we both a little rough women. We little and we rough, and we just love that for ourselves. But we do understand that to other people, we may not be able to always be able to respond like that. However, I'm going to talk to you the way I talk to Danny. Get your ass back up. Okay. You made the mistake. You did the thing that you said you wasn't going to do no more. All right. You're going to have to deal with the consequence, right? Of you making the choice that you said you were not going to make any again. You made the choice. Cool. That's where you go back to that acceptance and that acknowledgement, come into the awareness that I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect. And there will be times where I roll my ass all the way down this goddamn hill. And once I get down the hill, all right, you can sit there for a little bit like, damn,
don't
oops, I did
wallow.
it again,
Yeah,
but
don't
do not
wallow.
wallow.
Give
Give
yourself a
yourself
time
a moment.
period. Yeah, give
Yes.
yourself, like for me, I get 24 to 48 hours and then we gotta move. Like that's a part of the plan. Like you need to have that. How long will I give myself to wallow or to be in this space that I'm not supposed to be in? Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it a month? Having those things and having those parameters for your development and your change and your growth, it's going to help you, because then you're going to put that extra effort in to move through it when you know, like, that 48 hours is up, gotta go.
Yeah, absolutely. It is figuring out what it looks like. And then you get your ass back on the horse. Okay. Get back on the
Yeah.
horse. Listen, we dive way deeper in the triggered changes pack. And right now, because it is in pre-sale, you get it for 90% off what it would normally cost you. So if I were you, okay, I would go on ahead. And here's the thing, we made it super easy for you. You can go right to triggeredafevents.com and you can buy and purchase the pre-order. I want you guys to understand that you really are the person who is in charge and who is most powerful in your life. If you can harness that inner knowing that I am in charge here, I have the most power over myself, and then utilize the tools in the triggered changes pack to actually effectuate the change you want to see. This ain't even about me. This is about you versus every part of you. So if you can tap into that, that is where and when your life changes. I am so excited for y'all to figure this thing out. Head on over, because this is an event. That is exactly why we left it at triggeredafevents.com, because this is an event in your life where it is the starting point. It is where you change, it is how you change, and it is how you start to create the life that you want to see. So I hope these 7 A's were helpful for you, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you were even writing down, before, let's say you're not ready for the pre-order, or you wanted to start immediately after this. I hope you were writing down this. Listen to this again if you need to. Send this, share this particular episode with folks who you know want to change and just simply can't get right or can't figure it out, because change is absolutely possible, and it is possible for you right now. You don't have to wait a year from now. No, right now it is possible. Today, this
Today,
moment, the other
right now,
moment we have.
in the next
Right
moment,
now.
like
Yeah.
in the next 5 minutes, just do something different. It's
Do
so
something different.
possible, and you
Yes.
have to believe it. And don't be. And my last note is, don't be afraid of the isolation. If you know anything
Mm.
about the greats or anything about people who are really accomplished, there is a period of isolation that's going to come again and again and again. Don't be afraid of that. That's when whatever you believe in speaks to you. That's when God speaks to you. That's when the universe speaks. Like whatever it is that you're believing in, that isolation is so necessary, like a cocoon, right? To become that butterfly and to become that next level of yourself. So please, with this, I understand that it will feel a little bit lonely sometimes, but there's such beauty in that, and that's really what's going to help. So we hope you guys enjoyed this. Share it with a friend, like Alicia says. Share it with people. Listen to it over and over again until you can like really feel yourself ready to make that change. If you don't feel quite there yet, you can stay in touch with me at the Danny Bordeaux on Instagram. You can go to triggeredafpodcast.com, of course, triggeredafevents.com to purchase the pre-order for the Trigger Changes pack. Where can we stay in touch with you, Alicia?
You can stay in touch with me everywhere, all over at Alicia Reese. That's Alechia. Last name Reese, Reese. I cannot wait until you guys get this pack. It is I don't know, we say game changer a lot because a lot of what we do is changing the game. So go ahead, just accept it because
It
that's what it is. But yes, I look forward to seeing you soon. So until next time, bye.
is. Bye.